All right. I think we are now live. Good morning, guys. I welcome all of y'all to another weekly episode of NOMBERG Law Live, but this is a special edition. This is the week of the Northview Dothan game, and this is the rivalry for the Circle City, and I'm so pleased to have such luminaries, such great former athletes, and Jon Johnson, longtime Dothan Eagle Sports Editor. We got Doug Mims from Dothan High, Lawrence Dawsey from Northview, Gabe Gross from Northview, Kevin Jackson and Janansky Fleming, who have been at both schools. So welcome each of you guys. I appreciate y'all's few minutes. This ought to be a lot of fun. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What we're going to do, fellas, is I'm going to turn this over to Jon in about 10 seconds. I'm going to quit talking and let Jon take over. But I think we just ought to talk about the good old days. You know, that's all former athletes can do. But this ought to be a lot of fun. Jon, I'm gonna bring it over to you now.
All right, thank you, Bernard. Ironically, my first year at the Dothan Eagle was 1985, and there's three people on our panel here tonight that were a part of that game, and it was a great game. Dothan High won at 13-10 in overtime. I'm going to start with you, Lawrence. I think that was your senior year. You were a great wide receiver, but you scored on a 1-yard touchdown run as Northview's only touchdown of the game. Go back and relive that a little bit, Lawrence, what that game was like.
Oh, it was a disappointing game. You know, anytime you lose against your rivalry. But I was excited to be playing in the game because the first game that year I broke my arm and I missed, half of the season almost. So able to just come back and play in that rivalry was a great memory for me. But it was disappointing that we lost. But you got family on the other side, playing for Dothan High, and you got the Northview Cougars going at it, so it was a great time.
Yeah, one of the things I don't remember a lot about the game, quite honestly, but I do remember it's still in my mind. Just looking down on the field after the game, I was sitting in the press box and just thinking about how many great athletes were competing in that game. I mean, there were some great players in that football game.
Yeah,
Lawrence, you went on, of course, to play at Florida State and play in the NFL, but talk about the talent level that was on the field that night.
Wow. We had on our side, we had Cassie Butler, we had David Hogan, Nomberg, Chris Hogan, Collins that went to Auburn. And then on Dothan High side, you had Dennis Tillman, you had Pee Wee. You had a lot of great talent over there. So Ray Gibson that went to Florida State with me. So you had a lot of great guys on the field that night. And, just to be part of that was a good thing. The only thing I regret that Dothan had lost to Phoenix City because I wanted to play them again in the playoffs, and they lost that year. So I was looking forward to getting a little revenge on them, but they didn't make it to the next round.
Doug, you were defensive back on that team, and they had players like Lawrence Dawsey that you were having to defend. Y'all hold them to just the one touchdown. Talk about the defensive efforts y'all had that night.
Well, I think if you go back at that year, you'll see that we gave up less than a touchdown a game on average. So we went into the game with a good defense, and some of the guys that Lawrence mentioned, like Teapot, Alex Thomas was on that team, and we had Felix Baxter's one you don't think of. Felix was a great high school football player and had a great career at UNA. So we came in with the expectation that we needed to keep ourselves in the game. On the other side of that, going into that game, I think we were 7-1 going in, but we scored less than 10 points a game. So we struggled to score, but yet we kept others from scoring. So going into that game, Bernard had a great year. David Hogan is another one who was just a tremendous athlete, had a tremendous senior year. And, of course, Lawrence, we were just hoping to contain them so our guys could hopefully score a little bit and do what we did.
Bernard, you were a quarterback on that team, and we were talking a little bit before this started. This kind of jump-started y'all as y'all made the run to a state championship. Talk about that a little bit.
We had such an up-and-down year with Lawrence getting hurt in that very first quarter of the season. We started out 1-3. And we didn't know where we were going. We knew we had a lot of talent. We had a brand new offense. Nobody ran the run and shoot at that time. And we finally, as the season progressed, and then Lawrence was able to come back and do all his great stuff, we were able to get some momentum. And then by the time we got to the Dothan game, that game it's the Alabama-Auburn game every year. It's the city rivalry. That's what the kids who are on the teams right now, they're so looking forward to Friday night. And that game, at least in my mind, and probably everybody on this dais' mind, as you lead up to that game, that's the game of the year. And I remember going into that game, that was probably the most nervous I had been all season, but we had been through so many overtime games, so many injuries. We just knew that we had to get this game. But I will say the hardest I have ever been hit in a football game was by Teapot on that game, during that game. Ray Gibson intercepted a pass, and I think he lateraled it to Teapot, and they were coming down the sideline on Dothan's side of the field, and I did not want him to score. And I did everything I could to prevent that. And I'm still ringing, it seems like. But he was such a strong and such a great player. But as it turns out, as we talked about, us losing that game actually was fortuitous for us because Dothan ended up playing Central Phoenix City in the opening round, and Bo Peep got hurt. James Joseph, who went on to a very good career in the pros, he got hurt in the Dothan game, so we didn't have to face him in the next round, and I think that helped us. But, Teapot, he was some athlete.
Janaski, obviously, you played in this game. You now coach at Northview. Go back and talk about some of your favorite memories as a player and what you remember as you think back on those games.
Well, of course, man, we had the famous 4 overtime game my senior year, and Kevin was a sophomore for Northview, and that's always a big game in everybody's memory on the game and how it was played and how it ended. And, man, you couldn't sleep the night before the game. You kept waking up and kept just thinking about it and how it was going to all play out. And, like Bernard said, man, you needed really somebody to hit you to wake you up, when you're playing in that game, just to let you know that it is a game, and once you get that first lick, then you realize it's what you did growing up as a kid and how you played in the backyard. And and you look over there and you had some of the same great players. You had James Johnson at Northview. You had Kevin over there. You had John McGlunn. You had Charlie Davison. You had Harrison at quarterback. Man, you had just a number of athletes. And, on our side, we had Joseph McNeely and Tony Franklin and John Hawkins and Kyle Cook and just a bunch of great athletes with us. And I just remember that game. My center, who's deceased at Tag Gillen, man, rest in peace, Tag. He and I, the way the game ended, he went one way and I went the other way, and the ball sat on the ground, and that's how the game ended. People love to talk to me about that, but that's, we were just so excited to run 119 sprint pass. I still remember the play, and he blocked backside and I was going to the left, and we just forgot to put the ball in the equation. So, we hear about it a lot because it's a great memory, and that's what you want in a rivalry. You want something people can't forget.
Janaski, and you've been over at Northview for quite a while now. When you first got over there, how strange was that for you?
Believe me, the late, great Billy Kennard reminded me how strange it would be. It reminded me. The year before, I coached at Enterprise with Coach Bacon, Bill Bacon. He said the same thing. He said, "Hey, it's not going to be a problem you coaching against Dothan." I'm like, "No, sir, Coach. You pay my bills." So I expressed the same thing with Coach Kennard. And, man, at the time, Gabe was a junior and became the starting quarterback. And, man, just looking at it and going into it. And my uncle, Edward Fleming, was at Dothan High, and he was giving me grief, man. I kept telling him, "Hey, man, we got a good group over here at Northview." And, it ended up being a blessing for me to be at Northview and start kind of my own, I hate to use the word legacy because of all the great coaches that have been there. But it ended up being a blessing for me to actually kind of start away from Dothan High and get that side of it. But it was kind of different, when you're used to wearing one group of colors and being on one side. But, man, it quickly, when those bills have to be paid, man, that loyalty goes out the window. You know where that bread is buttered, man, and you give your all. Everything I learned at Dothan High, I put that into my coaching at Northview. So it's been a great experience on both parts.
Kevin, share with us a moment,
John,
while you were at Northview as a player, looking back on that Dothan High game. What's your favorite? What do you remember?
I remember that 4 overtime game. I was a sophomore, and that was the second game I've been into. I was starting as a sophomore, and just listening to those guys from Dothan High talk, and me being a sophomore that year, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the rivalry. The only thing I knew, I wanted to win the rivalry. But just growing up with all those guys and coming together and playing against each other, that's one of the great feelings I had playing at Northview. And just playing against our buddies and being able to talk the whole year and being able to brag and either be sad. But that year I wasn't sad. The rest of the years I wasn't sad because we won every last one of our games there against Dothan High. And it was a bragging right. And I'm still talking about it to this day, and it's crazy because now, we get with friends, and that's all they want to talk about is high school games and stuff like that. But and I tell the kids now, when I used to coach at Dothan High, I tell them, this game right here is always going to be in your back of your mind. You're always going to bring it up. It don't matter where you're at. When you come home, you're going to get with your friends and bring them the same game up. So you better win it while you have a chance so you have some type of bragging rights. I had a couple of bragging rights, these 3 years I was there. Well, 4 years I was there because I played as a freshman, and we won that too. So it was just a blessing just to be there, to be up under Coach Parrish. I got a lot of grief going to Northview because of all my uncles, Dennis Tillman and Terry Tillman, and my aunts and all. They all went to Dothan High, and my mom happened to moved over there, and I was a manager, matter of fact. When Doug them played at Dothan High, I was a manager. I used to come over there with Coach Latter. Coach Latter was my PE teacher over at Wilson Street. So my mom used to let me ride over with Coach Latter to the games and practice and everything. And at that time I was going to Dothan High. I was a Dothan High Tiger. I wanted to go to Dothan High. I wanted to wear the red and black. And when I got to Honeysuckle, all my friends was going to Northview. And my mom moved over there in Hetland Avenue. And I said, man, I'm not going to Dothan. I'm going to Northview. Coach Parrish started being in my ear, and I started loving it. And moved over there at Northview, and had a great year. Had a great successful season over there, and it was wonderful.
And of course, you came over as an assistant football coach at Dothan, then became the head football coach. I remember, I think it was your first year as head coach at Dothan High. Y'all beat Northview. Great game. I remember how emotional that was. Talk about that because you're on the other side of the sidelines as a coach, and you know what the rivalry is all about. I know that was an emotional game for you.
Oh yeah, it was good because it set me up for being knowing Kevin's white. I was down in Mobile at Alma Bryan, and Kevin had a defensive coordinator job come open, and he said, "Man, I got something for you if you want to come back to Dothan." I had 3 kids there that was going to Dothan. Well, I was in the Dothan City school system, and I said I wanted to come back. And got in the system, being a defensive coordinator for 7 years there. And Kevin's left, and I got an opportunity to be a coach there. It was very odd, but at the same time, very exciting, being over there. And I love each and every day of it because I learned to grow and see what Dothan High was all about and see what the meaning of Dothan High and see how, the negativity of Dothan High, and it really wasn't negative over there. It was just the people that says things about Dothan High. Dothan High is a great school, a great academic school as that, because we had, when I was there, we had 4 students that got perfect scores on the ACT. So that tells you what type of school that is. And you have a lot of kids that get full scholarships there, scoring 30 on the ACT. And just being there as a football coach, it was great, and it was very, very exciting and very, very stressful too, because being from Dothan and being a head coach from Dothan, hey, you don't get no grief. You don't get people gonna talk. They gonna say whatever they want to say because you one of the guys that's there and you grew up there, and they ain't gonna take it easy on you. But I had a great and wonderful time while I was there, and I love every minute of it. I love the attending. I love how everything is. But at the same time, we had a great time there and just learned about being a Tiger.
Gabe, when you were younger, you were watching your brother play and others play at Dothan and Northview. First, talk about that. Looking at the others as you were young and getting ready to come up to that level yourself, what do you remember as a kid watching Northview Dothan games before you even got there?
I really remember watching 2 of these guys that are in this conference with us, and that's Lawrence and Kevin, and how, the the legacy of what they left and the reverence of which people around Northview held those two guys in. I think it was either my brother's freshman or sophomore year, I think was Kevin's senior year, and just how dominant he was as a player. Like I said, in looking back, and that was a time where Lawrence was at Florida State, and he was dominating, and he had dominated at Northview, and then he's in the NFL, and just the kind of the school of champions, the legacy of champions that came through Northview, the great players that came through Northview. And then of course Kevin goes on to Alabama, and he doesn't skip a beat when he gets to Alabama, and he's dominating people there, just like he did in high school. And then getting a little closer to when I got there, just with my brother being there, they had some great teams. I know they went to the semifinals of the state. I believe Aniston beat them his senior year, which was my freshman year. Carice Davis was at running back and a really good player, and Eddie Grimsley at linebacker position, and they just had some really, really good players all over the field, and that was the legacy that I felt like I'd walked into.
And, of course, you were a quarterback there at Northview during your playing days. You were part of some great games there. Talk about your favorite memories of that game, what you look back on.
Well, you're talking about that legacy of it. We didn't do a very good job of holding it for a while. We were just kind of okay my junior year, and we made the playoffs at 6-4 and got beat in the first round. And then my senior year, I thought we had a better team than what our record indicated, but you kind of are what you are. And we went into the Dothan game 5-4, and Dothan was 9-0 and number 2 in the state. And as far as my varsity years, nobody that I was playing with had ever beaten Dothan. And it's weird. I even tell recruits this now as I'm coaching. Don't ever sleep on what happens in high school, because that's some of the best memories of my life. And like several guys on this committee, I was fortunate to play at Auburn, and I played in Major League Baseball for a while. Played football here at Auburn, and still one of the top probably 3 or 4 games I've ever participated in was that Dothan High game in my senior year. And I've never been, and this is number one, I've still never been in a clubhouse, a locker room, or anything else with more guys singularly focused on one task as I was the night we played Dothan High and beat them my senior year. You had a locker room full of guys that wanted nothing else in the world. They didn't care if the world burned down around them. They were going to win that football game. And we came out, played a great football game. Our defense especially, they had some great athletes. Herschel Bolden, who wound up being a corner at Alabama for a long time, started, I think, right from his freshman year at Alabama, was a quarterback, and he's just running all over everybody. And we slowed him down. Tarsus Thomas made a couple of great plays. I had a pretty good game, and we wound up winning the game. And that memory sticks with me to this day.
I'm going to let each of you kind of be a coach for a day here. You're in the locker room Friday night. Dothan and Northview about to play each other. What do you tell these kids, Lawrence? This is a big moment for them. You were a part of it. You know what it's all about. Some of them will be playing in this game for their first time. Some of them will be playing in this game for their last time. How do you get them up for this game, Lawrence?
Well, you tell them, hey, this is something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. You only get so many opportunities, especially for the seniors. This is your last go round. And, you want to have the bragging rights. Most importantly, you want to have respect of each other and respect of your peers. So what you do, you go out and you leave it on the field. Take one play at a time. Some good happen, move on. Some bad happen, move on. Don't get caught up in watching the scoreboard and the trash talking of it. Go out and do your job and execute. And you do that, I think you'll be fine.
Doug? Same question.
Same question. I would say, I hope you don't have to tell them anything. I hope they're ready. I hope the vigor for the game is the same today as it was when I played and when these guys played. My son, Matt, graduated in 2009, and he played linebacker and fullback for Northview. And I know the rivalry was alive and well then. When I was back in Dothan, I got to know Kelvis White well and hung around the program for a couple of years with him. And the rivalry was there, and it was real, and it meant a lot to those young guys. So it was everything to guys like me. I think it was everything at the moment for the guys on this call. And I hope they're just ready. I hope you don't have to get them ready. I hope they're motivated out of their gut.
And Bernard, I know this means a lot to you. You put this together today. You still think a lot about the Northview Dothan rivalry and what it's all about, even though you're far away. But talk about what you would tell them.
Well, Lawrence and Doug have got me ready to play. I just got to get in shape and lose about 30 years of age, and I'm ready to go. I think both of those guys hit the nail on the head. You're ready to play. This is the game that you look forward to each year. It's your buddies on your side of the field. It's your buddies and now your opponents on the other side of the field. And you just want to show out because you may have family in the game with you. I know Lawrence and Janaski, I've talked about that before. And you remember these games. You may not remember every single play, but you're going to remember how you felt at the time you were in the game. And then as the years go on, the stories seem to get a little more embellished as our memories change a little bit, but you never forget playing in these games. I don't think there has to be a lot of rah-rah. I think it's already inherently built into the guys. And that's what you look forward to every year. This is it. This is the game.
And Janaski, you're still on campus at Northview, obviously, as a teacher, as a coach. It's probably a little different feel this week, isn't it?
Well, it is, and with the weather coming in, it's made a couple of changes. But I serve as a 9th grade coach, and my job games, man, I bring my spoon and make Powerade at halftime, man. It's the highlight of my Fridays, man. And the guys that used to play say, Coach, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I make Powerade, and I love every second of it. And they laugh, but I kind of just stay to the side and let Coach Parrish and his assistants, man, do their job. As a matter of fact, I had to peek away. Johnny Falk, who is a legend, just opened the car and said, "What you doing?" I said, "Man, I'm talking about this rivalry, Falk. He's one of the defensive back coaches, and man, he's was a part of the rivalry and has poured his heart and soul into it. But one thing I remember playing at Dothan High, I remember before that game started, man, one of our captains, he got up and he said something I never forget, man. He said, "Man, when you ride into Dothan, it doesn't say Northview, Alabama. It says Dothan, Alabama. So we need to go out. When we go out, we need to make sure people know that this is Dothan." And I remember one time, man, when I was coaching varsity, I said, "Man, this says Dothan, Alabama. Let's make it say Northview, Alabama when people ride in." So, man, you find little different things to say, but like Doug said, man, you don't have to get these kids excited for it, man. They already come in amped up. Sometimes you have to kind of aisle them down, man. When I was coaching and I coached receivers and I had Taurus Thomas, which is Lawrence's nephew, man, that joker would have played a full game in warm-ups, man. He's running around. He's excited, and he's trying to get Gabe to throw him deep bombs and warm-ups. And you had to kind of aisle him down, like, "Hey, man, calm down a little bit." So, it turns into something really just to get them calmed down. And because, man, they're already amped up. They're amped up now.
And Gabe, I know you're an emotional player. I can imagine you could give him a pretty emotional pregame speech. What would you tell him?
Well, it's really a combination of everything that was just said. I remember the 4 guys that were captains for the game for us, and that was me and Derek Knight on offense, Jamar Walton and Cornelius Bennett on defense. And I don't know if they still do this or not, but we went to lunch with the Booster Club at Mr. J's, I believe is where we used to go. And we left that, and on the way back to Northview, which I don't think we were supposed to do, we stopped by the stadium. And we just got out and walked in the stadium, and it was empty and quiet. And I remember for about 5 or 10 minutes, we just walked around, some of us on the field, some of us in the stands, and none of the 4 of us said a word. None of us said a word. And as we got back in the truck to get back to school, we just all kind of were looking at each other. And it was just it was a no doubt in anybody's mind what was fixing to be laid on the line to try to win that football game. And it wasn't need of a word being said between us. And really, the only words I remember saying, talking about Taurus Thomas, I got sacked. We're down, I think it was 2 or whatever it was, and I got called for intentional grounding. We're on the 9-yard line with about 2 minutes left, and we ran a little twist play with him going to the outside, and I just looked at him in the huddle and said, "Taurus, I'm going to throw the ball to you. I don't care if you covered or not." And he smiled, and he ran out the side and caught the ball and went 91 yards for a touchdown. And
Yes, sir.
I've never been thanked so much in my life for throwing him that ball and letting him make that play in that moment. But it's just, like I said, it's just a combination. You ought not to have to say anything. to get really where you need to be. And at the same time, sometimes that can be the most powerful words that are not spoken. You just look at each other, you look at a man in the eyes and knowing what you're going to get out of him, because it means as much to him as it does to you. And that's what I'll take away from that game, and that's what I would try to instill in my players.
We've lost Kevin, correct?
Yeah, he may come back in a few minutes if he's working right now, so hopefully he'll come back.
Okay. Well, let's have a little fun with a prediction. Lawrence, let's start with you. Friday night, what do you think?
I think it's to be a close game. I'm gonna go 21-17.
All right. Doug, give us a score.
Defensive game, Dothan High 16, Northview 13.
Gotcha. Bernard?
I think it is going to be, most of these are defensive games. I know there's been some blowouts here or there, but I think over the history of the 40-odd years, I think it was Dothan's up 22 wins to 18 for Northview. I think most of these games are close. I'm going to go back to our 1985 score of 13-10, except it goes the Cougars' way this year.
Gotcha. Jadaski, I know who you got to say who's going to win, but give us a score on it.
Hey, I tell you what, man, Dothan High has some amazing young talent, man. I've been watching them grow up, and they're getting to play. But I think it's going to be more of an offensive game. I think, with the way that offenses now go, I think that both of them have a opportunity to put up points. I've seen both teams put up over 30 in some games, man. So of course, man, I'm going to go with the Cougars, but I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 35-31.
Gotcha. Gabe, what do you think?
I'm gonna get kind of in there in a little nostalgic range for me, kind of in the middle of all that, kind of close to what Lawrence said. I think we got 22-17 Northview.
All right, guys, I've really enjoyed doing this. Bernard, I'm going to toss it back to you if you have any closing thoughts, or if anyone else wants to say anything.
Guys, I can't thank you enough for your time. This has been a fun discussion. I've been wanting to do this for a couple of years now. And let me step back just a second. For any of you watching this live, or any of you watching this later on, and we'll rebroadcast it continually for the next several weeks, if you got any questions or comments, just throw them in the comments section. We'll make sure that whoever the comments may be directed to, I'll get them to Doug, Gabe, Lawrence, Janaski, John, anybody who they're directed to. But these are fun memories. These are great times, and every once in a while you just got to relive it. I hope that as many of you who can go to the game this Friday night get out to Rip Hughes, because it's always a fun time. Hopefully the weather will be cleared out by then. But fellas, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate all of you giving me some of your time today. John, thank you for moderating and taking us through some good times here. Any closing thoughts by any of you guys? Just throw them out before we sign off.
Hey, man, it's good seeing you guys. I wish you the best. Go Cougars.
Same here, man. It's just great to be around Northview and Dothan High greats. Janaski coached me when his first couple of years there at Northview.
Yes, sir.
Always good to see you. Good luck at basketball. Lawrence, man, it's just an honor to talk to you. Like I said, he was the legend when I was coming through. So it's awesome. I hope this rivalry, I hope this rivalry continues to be special, because it was sure special for us.
Well, I'll just say it's good to see all of you. It's great to relive the memories. I'll go back to John when you said, on the 85 game, when the game's over and you look down on that field, there's a lot of talented guys down there, and I had a lot of love for their schools, and that's a great memory. Win or lose, that's a great memory.
And I just want to say, Bernard, man, thank you for putting this together, and John for moderating, man, and talking with these legends, man. This is special, man, because these guys are legendary, all of them, in what they did for our city. And also, I just want to say, with the way the school system is looking like, you never know. This may be the last time that this is a rivalry. So, I know the school system is thinking about a different direction. So, man, if you're not able to come to the game Friday night, you may miss something special. You never know.
John, in closing, I want to thank you for all the work you've done over the last few decades since the mid-'80s, pushing forward Northview, Dothan, and just Dothan sports in general. You've done such an outstanding job for all of us who played over the years, so thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure watching y'all play and then seeing you as you go out later in life. It's it's the fun part of our job to get to watch you as athletes and then see what you become as well. So I thank you very much.
All right, guys, signing off. Y'all have a good rest of your week. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank
See you guys.
Thank you.
See you.
See you later.